Hi everyone, welcome back to my kitchen. Trisha here. Just thought I'd give you a wee sneak peek of what's coming up in today's video. We're actually going to can up some barbecue pork. I'll use these for like pulled pork sandwiches, just for the two of us. So I'm just using pint-sized jars in this video, and it's a wee canning video from start to finish. So I just want to thank my son Jonathan and his girl Katie for my new apron. Absolutely love it. So sit back, put your feet up and grab a coffee or a cup of tea, and I hope you enjoy this video. And the video's about to start now. And I've went ahead and just washed my jars. They're sitting in there and they're still nice and warm. Just to have those all, I like to have that done ahead of myself. I'll just keep that closed for now. What I'm going to do is actually get a pair of gloves on. I've got a cut on my thumb, which is taking its time to heal, and the last thing I need is any pork juices getting into that cut. And it's recommended I keep it open, but for if I'm in the kitchen, I'll just wear a pair of gloves. So I'll just get this meat out of the fridge. It's been defrosting for 2 days. My big chopping board. I love this here. It's got a lip on it along the side here, so it actually pushes against the worktop and it doesn't move. And I've got our pork. I bought this up at the Asian supermarket the last time I was up, and it's been in the freezer, so decided to give it a new home inside can jars. We'll just get this opened and see how much fat we're dealing with. And this has been in the fridge for 2 days, and believe it or not, it still feels quite solid, but I'm going to do my best to get as much fat off it as I can. I don't want to chance the jars not sealing, and who likes to eat into anything with fat on it? Nobody in this house anyway. The ice is still flying off it there. And we'll just get it out of its wrapping. Get rid of that. All those ice crystals. And those are going straight in the wash. And I'm going to get the biggest knife I have. I love this knife. This was a deer set I got for Christmas, and they're absolutely brilliant. And what I'm going to do is, if I can get down through it, is I'm going to cut it into quite big chunks. I think what I want to do is sear this off. I don't usually if I'm doing pulled pork, but I'd rather get more of the fat off it, and I can just change things up. So it'll be hot canning instead of cold pack, and that's going to shrivel down whenever I take or fry it off to get rid of all that fat. So I'm not cutting it too small. Hopefully don't lose too much weight whenever all this fat cooks out. But that's enough of that. So I'll just wash my hands and we'll bring you over to the oven. Now, I've got my big cast iron pot on, and I know I'm taking the fat out, but I don't like to heat this up without a wee bit of oil in the bottom. I have a notion it would do something funny to the pot itself, so I'm just heating that slightest little bit of oil, and I'm going to crank this up to high, and I'll let this heat. It shouldn't take it too long, and we'll get the meat cut or cooked off. Okay, so this hot pan is nice and hot now, so I'm just going to put the pork in. I don't want to overcrowd the pan either. It smells good already. I'm just going to turn that heat down a little bit more because this cast iron enamel pot holds the heat a lot, so I'll just give it time to render that fat down. And I'll just keep turning it. You'll know when it's ready to turn when it's not sticking to the bottom of the pot. And this will also get rid of, if this had been fully defrosted, I probably would have been able to get the fat off it easier, but this will also take a lot of the water out, which would make my sauce a lot thinner and not have the same flavour. So I'm doing myself a good turn. I've just got a strainer over the top of my pot because I want to stick it in the oven to keep it warm while I get the sauce and stuff ready. So I'll let it drip here and then I'll put it all in the oven. Alright, I'll be back when I get this stage done, guys. I got all the meat. Actually didn't put it in the oven, it's in the pot. I just put a bit of tin foil over to keep it warm. And any of the fat that was left in here I've got rid of. And all I have is like the caramelized bit on the bottom. So I'm going to put a little small bit of oil in, just a little bit, and I decided I want to put onion in, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this up pretty small, and I'm hoping to get 6 to 8 jars out of this, so I think that would be enough. I'm going to hold that bit back, and I'm going to throw this in here and let it cook down, and it'll get all those lovely juices off the bottom of the pot. Might as well have them in the sauce as well, shouldn't I? Just scrape that all in there. And those onions are definitely lifting all that lovely stuff at the bottom. That's water coming out of them. Just give them a wee bit of a hand. I'm going to turn the heat way down to 2, and I'm going to add our barbecue sauce ingredients. So I'm 3-timing this recipe, so I'll put the single recipe in the description box. So don't follow these measurements, guys. So I've got a combined total of 4.5 cups of sugar. Looks a lot, but when you equal that out, when it's actually melted and it's equaled out amongst 8 jars, it's not a lot there. I've used the rest of my light brown sugar, and I've also added some of my darker brown sugar I made myself with molasses in it. I didn't want to put it all the heavy brown because you don't really want that strong molasses flavour. So just throw that in on top of the onions. And I've got the same off tomato ketchup, just cheap store-bought tomato ketchup's going in.
And just get rid of this. And I need a little scraper here. Don't want to waste any of this. And if this is too much sauce, not to worry. I can run the canner tomorrow and put chicken in it, so we can have barbecue pulled chicken. That's that all in. And give that a bit of a stir. You want to keep your heat down until your sugar starts to melt, because you don't want it to burn. You don't want to waste any of these ingredients. It smells nice. And I've got a cup and a half of apple cider vinegar going in for a bit of a tang, and a cup and a half of water. And we need 3 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. I'll give it a nice tang. This is a different bottle I got, so I should have stuck to the original Lane Pounds, but hey ho, it'll be fine. That's 1. It actually doesn't come out of this bottle as good as it does out of the other bottles, but 2. That's 3 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, or Worcestershire sauce. Excuse me. And I'm going to put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 'Actually the recipe's calling for 7, but I'm going to leave it at 5 for now and see if I need to add any more. I've got a wee bit of smoked paprika to put in, and I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those in. And the recipe is asking for 6 teaspoons of salt, but I don't want that much in, so I'll use the other side of this. And this is pink Himalayan salt, so it's safe for canning. Put 1, 2, 3, 'll try 4, and I can always add the other 2. And I'm going to add a full tablespoon of black pepper. It's asking for more of that too, but some of these recipes you don't want to go by what they're telling you on the spices, because you can add or take away. It's easier to add than it is to take away, if you know what I mean. And basically that's all they're asking for this sauce. So I'm going to give this a good mix. Make sure all those spices get down in. Yeah, and it's clumpy there, just break it all up. So this recipe didn't have the onions in it, but we love onions and everything, so I decided to go ahead and put them in. And I'm going to turn that up slightly now because that sugar has melted. It's not trailing along the bottom, I can't feel it, so I'm going to turn that up to get it up to a simmer. I'll plop you in there for now. And I just want to check I've got all the ingredients in. So brown sugar, ketchup, apple cider vinegar, water, Worcestershire sauce, dry mustard, paprika, salt, black pepper, and it's also asking for dashes of hot pepper sauce. But once this comes up to simmer and I taste it, I'll know whether I'll know whether we would enjoy the hotness in it. So if I think it needs it, I'll add it then. I'll tell you what, it smells good. And it's going to take us a just a little while. Don't want to bring it up to the heat too quickly. But I'll get a clean spoon and we'll try it at this stage. I brought 3 because knowing me, I'll taste more than once. So I just want to get a little bit and taste it. It's not quite there yet. There is something missing. I'm going to add another 2 tablespoons of mustard. It'll give it more of a zing. And it did ask for 7, but I reduced it. And I'm going to put another 2 teaspoons of salt, not heaped ones, level ones. And tell you what guys, what I have here, which is going in, and I do have hot sauce if I need to add it, but I'm also going to put some of this liquid smoke in. I've used this before in one of my videos, but it just gives it a really nice tang. And I don't know about that pepper sauce or hot pepper sauce. I might skip it actually. But always make sure your sauce is to your taste before you actually get it in the jar. There's no point in canning up stuff that you're not going to enjoy. Get you off the back of my spoon. You're supposed to be in the pot. Okay, I'm just going to let this sit now and come up to temperature, and I'll keep tasting it. That's my dirty spoon. You always use a fresh spoon, guys. You sore throat or anything, you'll pass it on to people. and always get in the habit of using a clean spoon. Ooh, it's actually getting there now. So it took that extra mustard and it took the extra salt. I'm going to, this stuff is very strong, so I'm going to try 1 tablespoon of it. And say I've canned with it before, so, and you can smell it instantly. It's like that real barbecue smell you would get around the barbecues. And it's called liquid smoke, and I get it off Amazon. My 3rd spoon, guys. Ooh, that is so nice. I definitely took that liquid smoke in it as well. So I'm going to let this sit until it comes up to a simmer, and I want to let it simmer for at least 10 minutes, just until the full flavour develops, and then I'll decide if I need to adjust it or anything. The sauce has been sitting simmering, and I'm happy enough for the flavour of it now, so I've just kept the lid on there to keep the heat in it. Lifted a couple of jars out of the oven, which are very hot. So what I'm going to do first is, and never put your jar straight onto a cold surface, always make sure you use like a cloth under them. So I'm just going to basically give this a stir, put some of that lovely sauce in there first before I put the meat in, because the meat's not going to be as warm as the sauce with it sitting, and this jar won't get shocked. And you can see all the meat that I browned off, and I'm just going to put in as much as I think would be enough for the 2 of us for a couple of yeah, that big bit's going in there, and push it down. We probably only want one. We would only want 1 bap with this on it, so, and then put more sauce on. And I'm going to push that down in there, and the sauce will go down in. You want to debubble this really well. And I've got my canner on the table behind you, and it's sitting at, it's not a simmer, but it's up to the temperature that I need it. So just make sure that you debubble those really well, and there's no air pockets. So I just go around the sides and down the middle. I'm trying to be less paranoid about doing that, because to be honest, I was going a wee bit over the top. And I'm just going to take a slightly bit out of there. I'm going to go aim for an inch headspace, which is just at the rim. And there's still going to be a bit of fat in here, so I don't want to take any chances. That fat will try and push itself up and leave it a wee bit more room. And I've just got a cloth here with vinegar, and I'm going to clean around that really well to get rid of any of that fat and the sticky sugar. And change your cloth out each time. Don't clean it with the same cloth that you've cleaned another jar with, because you're only transferring from one to the other. So that one's fine. And I've got my lids. I had them just sitting here in boiling water. That's not necessary, but I just wanted to give them a head start. and a ring, and 3 fingers. It's finger tight. To me, that's your thumb and 2 fingers. That's the way I do it anyway, and it's always been fine. So we'll do another one here, and I'll get the rest of these done off camera. And as I say, that sauce is nice and warm, so it's not going to shock my jar when I put the meat in. A big bit down in there. And we've been looking for pulled pork for a while, so it was about time I got that out of the freezer. No point having meat if it's sitting in your freezer doing nothing. When you're craving, I'll put a little bit more sauce in there, and let's start with this to get it down in, and your sauce will go down. So you just want to go around the sides and down the centre. I'm not ramming these full of meat because, as I say, it's only enough for like the 2 of us, like 2 baps, and that's left we can eat. And I reckon there's enough in there. As I say, I've overfilled that one again, so it's no biggie. Just take some more of the sauce out till you're down to the inch headspace, and clean bit of your cloth. Give it a squeeze. You don't want extra vinegar in there, and give those top of those rims a real good rub. Those are so hot, but so I want them, so I'm just going to give it an extra wee go, that one, and grab my lid and my ring. Finger tight. So it's basically whenever you feel resistance, you can't go any further with those 3. Use your whole hand, you're going to go and over tighten them. So I'm going to plop these 2 into the canner and get the rest of these filled, and then I'll bring you back. Okay, so that's the last of the jars. Actually got 1, 2, 3, I got 7, so that's the last going into the canner. And you can see the steam starting to rise there, so the water's nice and warm in there. Done all my checks on the lid, you know, to look through the vent, make sure you can see daylight before you put your clamp this lid down, so that all that air can escape, and make sure your rubber seal is in the right place. And I've actually oiled this. I try to oil it after every use, and make sure your wee lock that goes up, make sure it's tight from both sides. Okay, so just line the arrows up and push down and clamp it closed. And I'm going to keep this on a medium heat until it starts to spew out steam. And once it starts to spew out a constant stream of steam, then I'll put the timer on for 10 minutes. Alright, so you can see I'm getting a constant stream there now, so I'm going to set the timer for 10 minutes. My old friend Alexa, set a timer for 10 minutes, please.
10 minutes, starting now.
And I also just like to check the clock on the wall as well. If the power goes off, you won't have Alexa, so just make sure you get your timings right, guys. And I'm gonna, once the alarm goes off and the 10 minutes is finished, I'm going to put my 10-pound jiggler weight on. It's 10 pound for my altitude, and once it actually comes up to the 10 pounds of pressure and my jiggler starts jiggling, I'll know to set my timer for 75 minutes, These are all pint jars with meat in them, so they have to run for 75 minutes. And I'll bring you back once the 75 minutes is up, the canner has cooled down, and I'm going to lift the jars out. Alright guys, I'll see you soon. Okay guys, so processing time's finished. The safety lock has fell and I've taken the weights off, and I've just parted the handles, and it's been sitting here for about 15 minutes or so. So get these out of here. Always open your lid away from yourself. Let's get rid of this. Let's see what we've got. Looks nice. And they're still bubbling away there. Plus, and there's been a wee bit of siphoning there. You can see like fat residue in the water. So it's only to be expected when you're working with like that pork. But if these all seal, I'll be happy. That's the culprit there. You can see where there's less fluid in this one. There we go. I'll just let these sit here now for good couple of hours anyway. I've put them on directly under a cloth on a tray, so I can move the whole tray and not directly lift each one of these if I need the table later on. Alright, so I'll give you a wee closer look. There you go. BBQ pulled pork. You can see they're still bubbling there. It'll take these a while just to cool down.